get set for our case study on the nexus between optimizing operational efficiency and future growth. Let me extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Liliana Caimacan, Head of Global Innovation, Tata Consumer Products, and Professor of Marketing and Innovation, Hult International Business School. Let me also present to you Mr. Daniel Rukare, Professor of Practice, Hult International Business School. Over to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us here today morning. My name is Daniel Rukare. I'm a professor of practice at Hult International Business School. Excited to be here to discuss this pertinent topic. I'll hand over to Liliana Caimacan to introduce herself and start our presentation.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with you and share together with Daniel some thoughts about how businesses can thrive into the new environment. I'm Liliana Caimacan, Business Transformation Strategist, Innovation Leader and Professor of Marketing at Hult International Business School, Head of Innovation at Tata Consumer Products. The topic of today will be around the nexus between optimizing operational efficiencies and future growth. I think topic which is very relevant for all businesses around the world. So I'll try to share some thoughts and the outcome of our quite extensive research looking to various companies. But before going into details, I would like to share, to start with a quote of Alan Kay. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I think this is more relevant today than any other time, simply because companies do really need to take in their own hands the future and drive to be able to drive growth in such a changing and unstable world. So we start our research looking to the power curve of economic profit and the result of an extensive study done by McKinsey, which look into what are really, how can identify the companies able to drive growth. And what they realize it is 60% of the companies most of the time sit into the space of drive being constant, being flat and not necessarily having significant growth. But there are 20% of companies delivering an exponential growth. So it's been interesting to look into what are they doing and how they succeed to drive this growth. And reviewing all these details and looking to other elements of the research, we identify few areas of focus on how to transition from a stagnant position and achieve accelerated growth. One first key area, it is about trends. Companies looking into what are the trends in the market environment and how this can be capitalized. The second big area, it is about driving and identifying big moves in the context of transformation and how really to differentiate the opportunities and one company versus another, what can be achieved through differentiation. And last but not least, it is how to define future-proofing portfolio, how create value, how to use agile, the resources and allocate them, but how to embed also the digital transformation using AI and big data. But let's zoom a little bit more into the trends and see what are the new trends shaping the future in the face of uncertainty. We identify 6 big areas of focus, and these are data and digitalization, a key area and something which companies do need to take into account in these days. And this is something which has been embedded very much across all companies currently. The need to high business agility. So companies do need to be more agile these days in order to drive growth. They need to adjust their portfolio and focus in order to be on trend and to serve better the customer needs, which are becoming more differentiated and as customers are becoming really more demanding, they are looking for quite great experience and they are looking on various ways to to achieve their needs. So customer experience is fundamental area for focus for the companies. The fourth one, it is the need to create ecosystems and partnerships. And that's been seen, as a key area of focus during pandemic, when various companies work together to deliver what customers needed the best. The fifth one is around inequality and social pressure, and we see this happening around us every single day. So it's really important companies to define the ways how they can tackle this one and take action, because that's what customers do expect from their side. And last but not least, it's around environmental impact, how companies really can drive a positive environmental impact in a moment when this is a fundamental area of focus. But now I'll hand over to Daniel to look into and go to the second areas and opportunity for growth for the company. So Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Liliana. Now, in order for companies to be able to do this, there's something called, or the use of ambidextrous business models. Ambidextrous business models allow companies to be able to optimize their core operations, but also to look to innovate in the future. Now, that sounds like something that is relatively easy to do, yet it's extremely complex to manage as organizations grapple with operational efficiency, and the second, which is how to grow their business and determine where the innovation future lies for the organization. Now, we are very practical with our research, and we look at trying to bring out new areas. I'll go to the next slide, Liliana, where we're trying to, we have decided to develop aspects associated with how businesses can start identifying business transition for future proofing. The first is to understand how to understand value creation. We always say that value creation is separate from value capture, and organizations have got to determine what that looks like. The ability to ensure that they have agile resource allocation. That agile resource allocation is fundamental because it allows organizations to optimize the scarce resources that they have for both either operational efficiency or looking to the future. And third is we allow organizations to understand how they can use big data, artificial intelligence, and any other type of technology, depending on whichever sector organizations are working, to be able to optimize that transformation for future-proofing their portfolios. Now, we also do not just sit down because we are academics and also industry practitioners. So we developed what we refer to as a three-step value model for future-proofing. The purpose is to try and help businesses respond and proactively deliver business transformation. So we are providing a tool that would allow organizations to be able to understand. We have two main objectives. The first objective is to understand how businesses can attain sustained growth through future-proofing. And the second is to understand that complex area of growth paths and something we refer to as OKRs, or objectives and key results. That allows for something called the systemization of innovation. So let's get into the model and see what it looks like. So as you can see, we look at value and performance over time. We expect organizations at step one to be able to optimize aspects associated with the core value, because that, for example, looks at businesses, their portfolios, their current growth areas in their portfolios. Optimize that, build efficiencies, and ensure that you're bringing the best return or yield from that particular aspect. We then look at the second aspect, and the second aspect is interesting because it allows for something called incremental innovation. Now, incremental value. Incremental value allows organizations to move to the next step while avoiding risk exposure to that particular movement. Because if there's radical movement suddenly, organizations are faced with huge risk elements. And in order to minimize and optimize those or leverage those risks, what organizations need to do is they need to build resilience. They need to be able to have proactive transformation strategies. Now, we have got a third area, and that third area is interesting because that third area talks about how to capture radical value. And that radical value allows businesses to be able to build what we refer to as anti-fragility. Anti-fragility, by definition, means that the business model that you have or the business structure that you put in place is not fragile. It can withstand negative forces in a market. Just like we have come through the pandemic, or we're coming through the pandemic, it allows businesses to be able to understand how they can create resistance or resilience to be able to deal with those negative forces. Now, what is interesting is that that movement looks at something called disruption through innovation. Now, we have, our data is showing us something unique. It is showing us that you can actually move from the core optimized value through to the step 3. And I think if Liliana could move on, you'll be able to see that that movement is what we refer to as disruptive transformation. That disruptive transformation means that in some organizations or some processes, whether proactively designed or out of circumstances, there can be a shift, and that shift allows for organizations to be able to understand how that disruptive transformation will be put in place. Now, as we move from this particular, I know that we have limited time. As we move from this, we've got to be able to understand how business can build resilience, can understand and manage competitive pressures. But the most important aspect is managing uncertainty and resource allocation. That allows for that shift towards driving transformation. That transformation drive is the most fundamental challenge that most businesses get. I think you saw that in the power curve, the economic power curve, whereby you're moving from the flat line of returning around about 45 million of capital employed to moving to the 148 billion return of growth. That is where the issues of building capabilities and transition is fundamental. Now, if we move on to the next, it is important to be able to start bringing in aspects and showing some examples. Now, UPS is an example of a business that has gone through transformation over time, and they have transformed their business. I have worked for 3 logistics companies, raising all the way to sales director of DHL. So you could see that over time from 1995, UPS has managed to redefine their business and transform their business to make it relevant. So have companies like Amazon and Google. Now, with this, I would like to hand back to Liliana, who will share with us some other examples of the results from our research and what that means to business.
Sure, Daniel. So let's zoom in a little bit into how we can create incremental value, how a company can drive this incremental value. And definitely there are a few areas of focus in this respect. So first of all, it's very, very important to understand what are some additional revenue streams, how a company can identify this one and really nurture and drive and move the core portfolio within this part, which can become the future core. Yeah, that area of portfolio which will allow company to grow in the future and better serve consumers. How can it identify adjacent growth opportunities through able to deliver this enhanced customer experience and drive future core development. Just a very simple example for everyone. So at Tata Consumer Products, we are very much anchored in black tea. But definitely this is a segment which in a market like UK, it's very much declining, double digit even in the last years. So identify a few other segments like fruit and herbal segments of tea or some teas with added benefits, and extended our portfolio into that segment to capitalize and capture the growth and aim to grow faster than the market. So the market is growing to a low double digit, around 10%. So we look into how we can create and innovate that kind of product, which would allow us to really go and grow faster than that segment. What are the products consumers are looking for? What are the variants and blends they need in order to satisfy their specific need to get closer to the Tetley brand in this specific example. Another example we looked into is very much around engagement and digitalization. So, and we all know e-commerce across the globe became one of the game changer in the last 18 to 24 months. It started some time back, but it really accelerated and seen and provided a fundamental transformation on how consumers shop today, and hence how products and companies can deliver products to reach the consumers in the moment when they cannot go and get them as before. And definitely this led to create some different new business models. And that's something which companies do need to look into and get exploit further, in a more consistent and coherent way. And the third step, let's zoom into this one, in how to capitalize on radical value. And I think many companies are looking today on what exactly can be done to really drive this fundamental and quick transformation, how to establish this anti-fragility and become more resilient and able to really drive true innovations to deliver the outstanding growth, even in a moment, in a situation when the market is changing, when there is a lot of pressure, and we live in a VUCA world. So how companies can thrive in this one. And here, basically, we brought to you a few examples which will allow to illustrate how this can be achieved. What means this radical value? One clear example, it is of company Philips, which is pioneering a new business model. Actually, they are not selling products. They are not selling, electricity products like bulb or some other type of products within their portfolio, but they start selling a service. So basically they sell light as a service. And that was an experiment done at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, where basically they are supplying the airport with the entire service and introduce this idea of paper lux model to drive radical value. So they deliver the entire service, not only product. And that become very beneficial for both sides and can be now under control of the company. Another great example, it is one of the Loop company, which is bringing this idea of sustainability and creating a circular economy. What they bring, it is offer the opportunity and to basically transform packaging into an experience, into a brand asset from packaging itself from a cost center. And basically they work together with various companies and suppliers to create ecosystems and partnerships. So basically they are bringing the idea of refilling and reusability of the packaging for 100 times. So rather than throw the packaging when the product is finished, you put it in Loop bag, you send it back to their facilities where this is cleaned up, refilled by the supplier, and then deliver back to the consumers, to a network of partners, using either that can be big customers in various countries like Walmart in UK or in US and Tesco in UK that extended in other spaces. So basically what they created is idea of reusability, which I think it's very important to give a new life to the packaging and different other materials rather than throw them and really tackle this idea of sustainability. And a last example into sustainability, as this is a very, very big and important point, it is creating new packaging solutions to add it to the existing one. And basically, I think, we see here by Carlsberg and also other brands pioneering new and sustainable type of packaging like green fiber paper, which I'm sure in the future will become a key type of packaging to be used. This was very, very short and quick examples for all to illustrate what means this radical value and how companies can capture it. But I will hand over to Daniel to share more details about how companies can really design this and identify opportunities for this incremental value. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, so we always provide our thought leaders, our participants with both insights, but also tools. Now, the design thinking tools allow for there to be an engagement with disruptive innovation through mindset changes. Now, here we've got a step-by-step process that allows the use of design thinking, where you can look at market condition, behavior trends that allow you to exploit these demand spaces. By those demand spaces, I mean that you're able to empathize and build an understanding of your customer. You're then able to start moving to the next step where you're able to start building concepts and prototyping. By the way, prototyping can exceed just product. You can also prototype service, a strategy, and many more aspects, and experience as well. And then you lead to some form of development of solutions. Now, some of you might be saying, this is all well, and how can we do it? Now, we use something we refer to as the double diamond tool, which allows individual groups of teams at senior level to be able to understand how they can deal with specific problems. At the onset here, you can see that you don't know something or you're looking at, you have a problem. You can then conduct both primary and secondary research that allows you to be able to start defining areas and methods that would be able to address. Then once you've diverged, you can converge. And that means you start building some form of clusters, you find insights, you start building different opportunity areas. And you ask yourselves, how might we do this? How might we do that? You start building scenarios. At that intersection, you can redefine your problem. Now you start to ideate. You start building those ideas. You start evaluating the first ideas. You start building hypotheses that you want to test. And those lead to the next aspect that allows you to then start moving into aspects of prototyping, testing. It allows for you to test fast, test quick, test cheap, in order for you to be able to learn, iterate, and then you start building and start understanding whether you can have a solution. So this double diamond system is one that allows us to be able to implement this. The key takeaways is I hope we're able to identify mechanisms to optimize your core value. You're able to build those transition capabilities, which are fundamental for businesses to be able to make those shifts from just having operational efficiency, but looking at how to build innovative outcomes. And then obviously you've got to identify that incremental value opportunity in order to minimize and leverage your risk. And last, we've got to start establishing disruptive value capabilities. We cannot sit, we've got to proactively determine what the future looks like. With those remarks, I would like to say thank you very much for listening to us and hope we can engage with you further.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Liliana, Caimacan, and Mr. Daniel Rukare for presenting the case studies to us, for sharing our experiences. I'm sure our audience had a lot to learn from you. I'd also like to take this opportunity by thanking our attendees. You've been a fantastic audience so far, and we're looking forward to having you join us for the various tracks that we have planned for you through the day. Please do remember there are some very, very exciting gift vouchers that we've got for you. So please do visit our leaderboard to know more about the TNC and do win yourself those gift vouchers. A lot of excitement waiting for you in our other tracks. Very, very special speakers from across the globe. And of course, we have some very special sessions lined up for you. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for joining us.
The different technology for social good programs that we offer really showcases that social good is in our DNA at JPMorgan Chase.
Code for Good is our opportunity to bring in university students to our offices and brainstorm for 24 hours on how nonprofits can solve a challenge that they're facing.
We would like to ask you how we can provide vital security information to our staff.
We give them a problem statement, and then they pretty much hit the ground running.
Your coding time has officially started. The nonprofits get to see that idea go from just something in their head to a physical product.
What ultimately is the problem we're trying to solve?
And it's a really great way for us in the firm to give back.
We want to maximize the efficiency
so we can gather even more data.
Wait, pause it.
There's always a possibility of a complete pivot.
There you go, that's the problem.
They're sleeping, whether that's on the table or on the couch.
Everything needs to be uploaded by noon.
And obviously there's a lot of coffee.
We are building out solutions for these organizations with individuals that we're actually excited to recruit into JPMorgan as employees.
3, 2, 1. And based on their pitch, we decide who the grand prize winner is. But it just doesn't end there.
The ideas these students come up with in 24 hours are then brought to life by our technologists over a period of 8 months.
When the students hear that it's not just going to sit on the digital shelf, it's that much more meaningful to them.
And it really kick-started something that will be much, much larger.